I want to talk about this battle, this war of words between the Doctor Who actor David Tennant and the business secretary, and of course she is also Women's Minister Kemi Badenoch. If you're not aware of this, I mean, apparently this happened at some LGBTQ plus awards on Friday. I think most of us only became aware of it yesterday. And again, what's so funny is what David Tennant says in this clip I'm just about to play you is obviously so unremarkable to the people in the room that it didn't make news. Well, it's bloody well made news now. Let's have a watch and a listen of what David Tennant had to say as he accepted an award for just being virtually signalling and wonderful. Here's what he had to say on stage.
I suppose if I'm honest, I'm a little depressed by the fact that acknowledging that everyone has the right to be who they want to be and live their life how they want to live it, as long as they're not hurting anyone else, should merit any kind of special award or special mention, because it's common sense, isn't it? It is human decency. We shouldn't live in a world where that is worth remarking on. However, until we wake up and Kemi Badenoch doesn't exist anymore, I don't wish ill of her, I just wish her to shut up.
Yeah, rich white man tells black woman to shut up. Now, I don't think that's because she's a black woman. I don't think that at all. I don't think that's relevant. I think you judge individuals by what they say about other individuals based on quality of what they say. However, you tell me a scenario where any supposedly right-wing actor, are there right-wing actors allowed anymore? I don't think there are. But just say a right-wing politician, just say a Tory, Nigel Farage, something like that, said that. I wish he didn't exist. I wish he'd shut up on this issue I don't like about a prominent Labour woman, particularly a woman of colour, Thangam Debbonaire or Shabana Mahmood, both two women of colour who were on the front of the shadow bench of the Labour Party. Can you imagine the outcry? Do you remember when everyone completely lost their minds because David Cameron said, "Calm down, dear," to Angela Eagle? People lost their minds over the sexism, the misogyny they exposed. OK, as opposed to it was just quite a funny joke. And he'd have said it to a man as well, I'm sure he would have. David Tennant, though, because he's a lovey, and because he claims he's got skin in the game, because, well, people keep saying he has a non-binary child. No. He thinks he has a non-binary child. He doesn't have a non-binary child because there are no non-binary children. This is made-up nonsense. I would say he needs to work on his parenting skills, but there we are. That's just me. Sorry if I exist and won't shut up as well, David. But David Tennant, talking about the Women's Minister, the Women's Equalities Minister, who speaks on this issue, who has never said anything, by the way, anti-trans, all the nonsense he said at the beginning of that, where he's talking about how, you know, people shouldn't exist to be allowed to live their lives without harming anyone. No one's worrying about those people. What we're worrying about is when people living their lives as they choose does impact on women. You know, things like men walking into women's toilets and changing rooms, being allowed women's refuges, women's competing against women in sport, or being put in a women's prison cell along with women. I mean, that's what Kemi Badenoch and people like me are talking about. How bloody dare he say, "I want you not to exist and to shut up"?
But it's that very classic thing of people who are fated to pretend to be other people their whole lives really need to overcompensate about who they are and really need to tell us as much and often a little bit too much about who they are. And I think that says rather a lot about the sort of person that he is, that he thinks that his opinions, ill-formed as they are incredibly important to the point at which he can joke about people just vanishing, which I would have thought would have come under the umbrella of causing people harm. But of course,
it's a joke. No, because you and I understand. Unlike the left, we understand jokes.
That's my point. It's the nuance there. But it's also the nuance, as you say, of the dynamics of the white man saying something about that if the roles were reversed, in that circumstances, it would be unacceptable amongst the only two right-wing actors that I think are in existence.
Do we name them, or would that damage secularism even
I think everybody knows that Mel Gibson is pretty far off on the right.
Yeah, I don't think we want to own him.
And James Woods, and I think there's somebody else, but I've forgotten who he is. He's not worked in some time. But you know, that's kind of the point, though, isn't it? As you say, it is about, as you said, people should be free to live their lives if they're not harming other people. this is about harming other people. This is not just about saying everybody can do what they want and no harm will occur. It's, as you say, it's encroaching on women's spaces. We all know what happens in that situation. We don't need to talk about it. But it is also about causing harm to children who are too young to make these decisions for themselves.
And people who, yes, tell their children, yes, you are non-binary, when they're not. I mean, I'm sorry.
It does cause harm. I'm sorry that, you know, you're being mean to your kid who's sort of stamping their feet and says, this is what I want. Yep. Well, that does cause them harm long term. And if you don't like it, well, as you say, parenting skills, 101.
Exactly. I have to say, I just find it absolutely extraordinary. And again, I don't want him cancelled. I understand that he was making it sort of a joke. I'm just saying the double standards have to stop. The cancellation of people has to stop. And as a general rule, when a woman is speaking up about her concerns about women's and girls' rights, when that woman's job is literally to protect women's and girls' rights, maybe you're the one who should shut up, David. Maybe you're the one who should shut up. No, I don't even want you to shut up. I'm glad you've exposed yourself for the bigot that I'm afraid you are. Because you know what? People on my side of the argument, we don't need anyone to shut up. You know why? Because we have right on our side. And we are quite happy to debate you on the facts, quite happy to debate you on the feelings if you want, because we know that we have right on our side. We don't need to cancel people. We don't need to shut people up. We don't have to wish people not to exist, because we know that when you are trying to protect women and girls in their women and girls only spaces, and when you're trying to protect them in sport, and when you're trying to protect children from being imbued with a trans ideology that is about politics and is about misogyny, and it's actually, by the way, also at your LGBTQ+ awards about homophobia, because transing the gay away, which is what is happening and what was happening in Tavistock, is not about gay rights. I think maybe you need to learn a little bit more about your topic and then perhaps open your mouth when you know a bit more. But there we are. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I know you'll know a lot about this, because we talk about this stuff all the time. What's your reaction to Kemi Badenoch hitting back at Dr. because I haven't even read what she's tweeted yesterday. She responded, "I will not shut up. I will not be silenced by men who prioritise applause from Stonewall over the safety of women and girls. A rich, lefty, white male celebrity so blinded by ideology he can't see out optics of attacking the only black woman in government by calling for my existence to end. Tennant," she says, "is one of Labour's celebrity supporters. This is an early example of what life would be like if they win." Keir Starmer stood by while Rosie Duffield was hounded. Of course, Labour MP Rosie Duffield, who stood up on this issue. He and his supporters will do the same with the country. Don't let the bigots and bullies win. So she got the party politics in there as well, which of course was already there.